Hi everyone, I'm Krzysztof Kowalski and welcome to my next tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be painting these cute little mushrooms. Here is the list of my materials. This tutorial is for beginners. It's pretty easy, so don't be afraid to try and experiment with your paint. In many paintings, masking fluid proves to be indispensable, and such is the case in this painting. Use an old paintbrush when using masking fluid. Firstly, dip it into clean water and then rub it several times onto a bar of soap. Soap helps to prevent masking fluid from getting into the bristles. This helps to maintain the condition of your brush. Next, dip your brush into the masking fluid and apply it to the edges of the mushrooms. These mushrooms are easy to draw, so you should have no problem drawing them, but if you do, you can find an outline drawing in the video description. Then all you have to do is transfer the drawing onto your watercolor paper. At this stage, I'm applying Frisket only on the words which are on the edges of the cups. There is no need to apply it to all of the words at this time, because we will eventually be removing the masking fluid from the edges and then apply the Frisket to all of the words. From time to time, clean your brush in the water and repeat the process of rubbing it onto a bar of soap. Now that the masking fluid is completely dry, I'm applying a water glaze over the entire background. I will be painting wet on wet, therefore I have to pre-wet the paper first, and then I'll be adding color onto the wet paper. Painting wet on wet helps you to achieve lovely transitions between colors. I'm preparing burnt umber, gold ochre, and Windsor green blue shade. I'm adding more water because I see that the surface is too dry, and I'm dropping in my colors with a 1-inch flat brush. How the look of a background will turn out is always a mystery, especially when I paint wet on wet. Everything develops as I go along. In this painting, I want to have cool colors on the upper part of the painting. That's why I'm using more Windsor green blue shade there, because it's a cool green, and warmer colors on the lower part of the painting. Later, I will add more of the very warm green there. I do it this way because warm colors are always closer to us. When painting a landscape, you probably use warm colors in the foreground. The same applies here. We are using warm colors in the foreground and cool colors in the background. This way we can achieve the impression of distance. I'm using a spray bottle with clean water to spray water in the areas where I want to move a color. I am tilting my board and letting the color run horizontally. It makes interesting patterns and adds a bit of the unexpected effects which are characteristic for watercolor painting. Now with the rigger brush I'm adding grass. Simple smooth long strokes of green and brown. I'm spraying the upper part, but I don't want to have blurred water, only drops of water here and there. Now I am adding a warm quinacridone gold and Winsor green blue shade mix on the lower part of the painting, and again grass using a rigger. In this place I'm also adding grass, but this time I don't have paint on my brush. I only dip it into the water, then blot it on my paper towel, and with a damp brush I'm adding grass. Water from the brush creates light thin strokes, but it has to be applied at the right moment. The paint on the paper shouldn't be very wet, but it shouldn't be too dry either. It's almost starting to dry, but it's still damp. Now using my rigger, I'm adding random spots of paint. This technique is called splattering. There are many ways to do this. This is just one of them. When everything is completely dry, I remove the masking fluid, and after removing it, I have to apply it once more, but this time only on the words. Now that the masking fluid on the words is dry, I'm applying a water glaze over the bigger cup. I'm preparing permanent rose and Windsor red. When the cup is still wet, I'm dropping in permanent rose in the area where I see the highlight, and then Windsor red on the rest. This is also painting wet on wet. I pre-wet this area first, and while it's wet I'm adding the colors. This way the colors blend together nicely without creating any hard edges. Now I'm adding just a touch of a warm yellow. I'm using Windsor Yellow Deep. Use the red to add shadows to the words, and with a damp brush soften the edges. Add the darker red to create shadows. I'm using Windsor Red Deep. To make this red even darker, I'm adding ultramarine blue. I'm repeating the steps on the second cup. I'm preparing gray by mixing ultramarine blue with burnt sienna. Again, using the wet on wet technique, I'm adding gray to the stem. While it's drying, I'm adding more grass using a rigger. Now with a damp brush, it's almost dry now, I'm lifting out the paint from the stem to create lighter areas. I'm using Winsor Red Deep and Winsor Green Blue shade to get black. I'm using it to add dark spots on the cups. Meanwhile, I'm mixing a dark green, Windsor green blue shade, quinacridone gold, and ultramarine blue. And I'm adding these stronger colors next to my mushrooms. While it's still wet, I'm pulling out the paint to soften the edges. I removed the masking fluid and now I'm using my gray mix. I'm adding shadows on the words. It's not very detailed here. I'm just adding color here and there because white objects always have some color. They are never pure white. Grass again, and this time I'm also using a spray bottle to add more effects. I'm spraying big drops of water and I'm adding grass blades. Don't forget to sign your painting.